In my many years as a Naruto fan, Sarada Uchia has been a very polarizing character. People either love the character or they hate her, especially Sarada in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex. Some, in my opinion, it is residual leftover hate from either her being Sakura's daughter, hence the need by so many people to downplay her character arc, especially any combat feats that she has. But for this new Naruto Explained video essay, I want to take a deeper look into the character of Sarada, and hopefully, if you're someone who's on the fence about a character, you walk away from this video with a deeper understanding for her character, which for the first time ever, I'm going to give away the title and the theme for the video essay up front, which is Sarada Uchia, the Phoenix of the Uchiha clan. For this video, we're going to be taking a lengthy, detailed, and symbolic look that explores Sarada Uchia as the final evolution of the Uchiha legacy, contrasting her with the clan's most iconic members, both those who strayed from the darkness and those who sought light to bring about peace but were struck down before their vision could be realized. We're going to examine the symbolic weight of Sarada's journey, why she is the accumulation of centuries of Uchiha grief and hope, and why her path, in particular her new power, breaks that cycle that haunted all of them. Sarada Uchia, the Phoenix of the Uchiha clan, the child of love who finally redeems the curse of hatred. The Uchiha clan and the curse cycles of hatred are where we have to start first. So the Uchiha were once the noble protectors of the village. They were a descendant of Indra Otsutsuki, the eldest son of the Sage of Six Paths, who inherited powerful eyes and a sharp mind, but he became trapped in a cycle of conflict and pride. That power passed down through the generations, a clan gifted with immense power and even deeper emotional bonds, but they were burdened by tragedy. As Tobirama once said, the Uchiha's power is awakened by love, but that same love is what destroys them when they experience loss. This principle became their doom, and it's so ironic given the fact that they are one of the four noble clans of the village itself, where the Senju clan, who are the descendants of Ashura, they embodied peace and tolerance. The Uchiha clan, they were warrior philosophers. They were ruled by emotion, idealism, and unbreakable bonds. Their greatest strength, love, would twist into vengeance when it was severed. Nowhere is this more evident in the very long line of Uchiha who lived and died in this cycle. Notably, the one that doesn't get talked about enough because his story wasn't animated, but yeah, it's Setsuna Uchiha who tried to overthrow Tobirama as Hokage, but we'll touch on that later. So the tragedy of the Uchiha clan, it basically comes down to a lineage of lost visionaries, or basically fallen kings if you want to go with the perception of symbolism and imagery. So Madara Uchiha, he was an encapsulation of power without trust. Madara was the first Uchiha to seek control over peace itself. Betrayed by his closest friend, Hashirama's refusal to favor Uchiha leadership. Basically, Hashirama became Hokage after saying, "I want you to be Hokage," because obviously feudal lord said otherwise. He viewed love as a weakness and trust as being a lie based on everything that happened. He created the Eye of the Moon plan, or the Moon Eye plan if you go by the English dub, a vision of forced peace through illusion. Madara did not believe in change through compassion. It was only through forcible domination. He saw the world's hatred as being unfixable. Hence he said, let's create a world without winners and losers. He chose to escape it through control itself. Then when you get to Sasuke Uchiha, he is a soul who is torn between revenge and redemption. Sasuke represents the ultimate contradiction of the Uchiha clan. He is a child born with immense love for his family, shattered by betrayal and loss, manipulated by Itachi's supposed crimes. He turned against Konoha and nearly almost repeated Madara's path. Even after learning the truth about Itachi, Sasuke, he sought revolution through destroying the old system entirely, wanting to kill the 9 Biju after they released the Infinite Tsukuyomi, and that's after he would have killed Naruto, because he didn't need Naruto to undo the Infinite Tsukuyomi. Hagoromo said he could have did it himself, and then he wanted to kill the 5 Kage after killing Naruto, and then use the Biju to undo the Infinite Tsukuyomi. But this is what led to Naruto beat some sense into him, and he helped him rediscover the value of bonds. Sasuke's path ultimately led to penance, but not peace. He walked the earth alone for many years, unable to lead or truly connect, haunted by both the love that he lost and the blood that he spilled, and his fear at losing the few bonds that he still had left. Then when you get into Shisui Uchiha, he was the hawk who was basically clipped. Shisui was perhaps one of the purest Uchiha, if not the purest Uchiha during his time. He believed in peace without bloodshed, and he had the Kotomatsukami, a genjutsu so powerful it could rewrite a person's mind without any form of conflict. He tried honorably to stop the clan diplomatically. He trusted in Itachi and Konoha. He was betrayed by Danzo, and that got him robbed of an eye, and he died at his own hand in order to pass the torch to Itachi. Shisui's death was a metaphor for what happened to the peaceful Uchiha. They were too hopeful, they were too early, and most importantly, they were too alone. Then when you get into Kagami Uchiha, the forgotten ally of the Will of Fire. Kagami Uchiha was a student of the second Hokage, and he was an ancestor to Shisui. He was a rare Uchiha who earned the unwavering trust of Tobirama Senju. Tobirama trusted in his combat, so much so that he spoke glowing about him to Sasuke, and it should be worth noting that Kagami was a representation of what Tobirama hoped the Uchiha would be, able to harness that power of love that they have in order to better serve the village. Hiruzen, he also trusted in Kagami's judgment, and Kagami never once let the curse of hatred consume him. But like Shisui, Kagami died young due to reasons we don't know before he could challenge the clan's drift into a civil unrest. Kagami is proof that it was always possible for an Uchiha to follow the Will of Fire, not just survive long enough to make it permanent. Then when you get into Sarada Uchia, she represents that fire that did not consume her. When we look at Sarada, the heir to not just the Uchiha clan, but the entirety of their emotional and spiritual legacy, her bloodline, it is very symbolic. Sasuke's eyes are basically what you have to look at, because the Uchiha gift and the curse of love and perception, that is the Sharingan. Sarada's will is strongly influenced because she inherited a lot from Sakura. Sakura being a medical ninja who chose compassion and strength and not vengeance. Then when you look at how Sarada has Naruto's teachings, the will of fire, the belief in bonds, and the courage to forgive others, Sarada's very existence, it fuses all three pillars of the narrative: the Uchiha's pain, the Senju clan's compassion, and Naruto's legacy of peace. The symbolic growth of Sarada, in particular when you contrast her to the clan's history, it is completely monumental. Where her predecessors were destroyed by their emotions or their silence in their youth, Sarada has been forced to confront the very test that broke them, but she responds differently. The test for her was the grief over Naruto's death. The Uchiha response, it was Sasuke with rage and revolution. Sasuke was enraged that Naruto was supposedly killed, and the revolution came from the fact that he was going to hunt down Boruto and kill him. Then when you look at Sarada's response, Sarada, she had heartbreak, and then she had immediate resolve to protect Boruto. The test was the truth that was erased by the world. Madara rejected it and tried to overwrite reality. Sarada, she's currently fighting to restore it with honesty. Two different situations between Madara and Sarada, but again, it's parallel but not beat for beat. When you look at the friend who turned traitor, that's Kawaki. For the Uchiha, this typically led to vengeance or isolation. For Sarada, in a way, she's still seeking to save him, even if she doesn't realize it herself. She could have tried to attack him at any point. She never did. Sarada just doesn't condone what he's done. She said, "I will stop you if it comes to it." But she has not completely written Kawaki off yet. She obviously hates him, but there's a thin line between love and hate. Then when you get to the witnessing of the death of a loved one, in particular Yodo, for the Uchiha, this triggers the Mangekyo because this traditionally is what caused their descent into madness. Oftentimes it's led to rage for a lot of Uchiha. However, for Sarada, when her Mangekyo was re-triggered, this empowered Sarada to protect others and not necessarily to destroy. She is the first wielder of the Mangekyo Sharingan who's not haunted by revenge, who's not haunted by action or inaction. Instead, you can make the argument that Sarada was someone who has been empowered by hope itself. Then when you take it a step further, you can start seeing why Sarada is the Uchiha clan's redemption. Sarada is positioned to do something that no Uchiha has ever done before. Lead the village, uphold it without rewriting it, face betrayal and still choose compassion, harness the Mangekyo Sharingan power without being consumed, break the curse through forgiveness. When she becomes the first Uchiha Hokage, it won't just be a personal triumph, it will be a historical exorcism of the clan's curse, a statement that power does not have to come from pain. It will be a fulfillment of Shisui, Kagami, and even Itachi, all who hope to be an Uchiha who could be a beacon rather than a threat. And in the case of Itachi, we know from the 2 Itachi light novels that Itachi did have dreams of becoming Hokage, and there were those in the village who thought he would be a successor to Hiruzen one day. And perhaps most poetically, it will also mean that Naruto's dream of breaking the cycle of hatred has finally been fulfilled through the daughter of his closest friend and his rival. The symbolism is also there because she is the phoenix and she is the leaf at the same time. The Uchiha symbol is a fan, a tool used to stoke fire. It's always been seen as a symbol of destruction, but with Sarada, the fire becomes a hurt, not necessarily a blaze, a protector's flame, not a destroyer's. She is not a child of war. She is not a girl that is born from tragedy. She is a young woman who chose the village. She chose forgiveness, and she chose to carry the burden of leadership in a world that is still being rebuilt. Like a phoenix, Sarada rises not from the ashes, but from all the pain and ideals and hopes of all the Uchiha before her, and she flies finally towards that light, which is going to be her becoming Hokage one day. But to truly understand this, we have to look at Sarada from being from the feared bloodline to being the flame-bearing beacon. How will the world come to see her, and how will she fulfill Tobirama's true vision for the Uchiha? First, you have to look at it from fear to faith, how the world will eventually view Sarada. For generations, the Uchiha name, it was known by all and it was feared by all, by Itachi's own word. The Uchiha, in particular their name, it inspired fear, not necessarily trust. Even before the clan's attempted coup, there were whispers that followed them about their cold stares, their prodigious power, and the tragedy of the Sharingan awakened from grief and loss. Tobirama was one of the main pushers. Cue up the racist Tobirama memes. However, to many in Konoha, the Uchiha, they were almost like a powdered keg, one emotional wound away from destruction. Even after the massacre, that fear is still lingered, especially during Sasuke's era of defection and attempted revolution. They were seen as being brilliant, but a little bit unstable. They were seen as loyal until they were betrayed, and then they became uncontainable. They were seen as passionate, but they were prone to the extremes. Now with Sarada, rising through the ranks, not necessarily with brutality, but with empathy, tactical brilliance, immense power, and a burning desire to protect rather than control. When she does become Hokage, it will be the final narrative reversal of the Uchiha clan. During the founding of Konoha, the Uchiha's reputation was fearsome rivals turned into allies. The world's perception was basically powerful but volatile. During the coup d'etat era, they were seen as dissidents and they were seen as coup plotters by those who knew. They were viewed as being threats to the system. Post-Uchiha massacre, they were viewed as being nearly extinct. The narrative was basically they were tragic victims of their own fate. Then with Sasuke's rogue ninja years, the Uchiha were viewed as being vengeful and unstable. They're viewed as being like they can't be trusted. It was an Uchiha who started the 4th Ninja War. It was an Uchiha who, even 16 years after the war, we see in Naruto, you say the name Madara 3 times fast, people still get spooked. They have to hold a memorial to remind people of what Madara did. Then when you get into Sarada's era, as she's marching towards Hokage, that narrative is going to be a healer, a protector, a leader. It's going to be proof that the past can be changed. Sarada, with her warmth and her clear ideals and her balanced heart, won't just make people accept the Uchiha, she will make them believe she is a flame that does not consume but instead illuminates. This hits even deeper and even harder no Shannon Sharp when you look at the true meaning of the Uchiha crest and why she finally honors it. We have to explore the Uchiha clan symbol for this to make sense. The Uchiwa, a traditional Japanese hand fan, is used to fan flames. This was never meant to symbolize destruction, though that's what it can be and that's what it can come to represent, which it did. The clan's chakra signature are fire techniques. That is what they have a strong affinity for. And their volatile emotions made through Uchiha crest appear as a warning label, a symbol of passion that can be turned dangerous on a mere whim. But if you go back to the cultural context of the Uchiha fan, the Uchiwa fan is something that's used to gently spread heat. It kindles flames to keep them steady. It sustains a controlled burn rather than a wildfire, which is what the Uchiha became, a wildfire. That is what Sarada Uchia has become, a true Uchiwa. Not a destructive fire wielder, but a keeper of fire. Not a threat to order, but a leader who uses her flames via her fireball jutsu to inspire people. By embodying the true meaning of a fan, Sarada doesn't just wear a crest, she finally gives that Uchiha symbol a purpose. This goes again back to Tobirama's vision and his misguided fears, but also the seed of hope that he had. Tobirama often receives very harsh criticism for his treatment of the Uchiha clan, and you could argue whether or not that's rightfully so in some cases. Done a couple of Tobirama video essays if you want to know my stance on that, but he has basically feared the clan's emotional volatility and segregated them by creating the Konoha police force, placing them under heavy watch and reducing their influence and leadership, thinking it was for the better. But his intent under the surface, it was not malicious. It was containment born out of caution. He did not want another Madara Uchiha, and he believed that the Uchiha's strong sense of justice could be redirected. Obviously, this ended up with Fugaku, and even before Fugaku, you had Setsuna Uchiha, who did not agree with this line of thinking, something that Orochimaru was quick to rub in Tobirama's face, saying, hey, you really caused a lot of this stuff. In his own words from the Naruto manga, he said, I gave them a position of power so that they could channel their pride into protecting the village, not rebelling against it. Tobirama wanted to give the Uchiha a purpose, to prevent them from spiraling into obsession and to use their desire for order and justice and love in order to maintain peace, not necessarily shatter it. Sadly, this backfired. The Uchiha, they felt isolated, they resented the marginalization, and they lost faith in the system. Madara's words still rang in the back of the minds of so many of them, saying that they would be oppressed by the Senju clan. But Sarada, she is the proof of Tobirama's idealistic goal finally being realized. The reason why is that she upholds justice without the bitterness that doomed her ancestors. She wants to lead Konoha not out of entitlement, but out of responsibility. She channels the Uchiha's passion into order, not into rebellion. She is proof that love, when guided by compassion and self-discipline, it is not dangerous, it is transformative. If Tobirama were alive to see her, which he wouldn't, even if he didn't die, he'd be old as hell. Too old to stay alive, but even if he was, he would be humble. She is one of the Uchiha who no longer need to be feared. She is an Uchiha worthy of becoming Hokage. Sarada is the resurrection of the Uchiha clan itself. Just as Sasuke wanted to restore the Uchiha clan, Sarada is the one that's making that happen. The Uchiha clan did not die in a massacre. It did not die with Madara's illusions. It didn't even die when Sasuke renounced the village. The Uchiha, they truly died the moment that they lost faith in being part of the future of the village. And Sarada, she will be the first Uchiha to become Hokage, and because of that, she is an Uchiha right now who believes in tomorrow once again. She doesn't resent the village, instead she wants to lead it. She doesn't want to burn the village. She is someone who burns with hope itself. She is not a spark that ignites civil war. She is the flame that keeps people warm. Her Hokage journey is not just political, it is a symbolic resurrection. To prove this, let's look at various Uchiha. In the past, Madara Uchiha, he was representation of power corrupted by distrust. Itachi was representation of love buried under guilt and duty. Sasuke was a representation of redemption through exile. Shisui was a representation of peace being silenced too soon. Sarada, on the other hand, she is a representation of love empowered by truth and eventual unity. She is that phoenix rising from the ashes of all their failures and dreams unrealized in some cases. A young girl who is just mocked for being an Uchiha will one day wear the Hokage cloak, earning the respect of those fans who say she's an Uchiha with glasses and she's just some random Uchiha. She's not about avenging the past, but instead she is about protecting the future. In conclusion, I will say this: Sarada Uchia basically is someone who goes from being flames to light itself. Sarada carries the weight of centuries on her shoulders, but unlike those before her, she did not buckle underneath it. She smiles, she chooses connection, she fans the flames of her lineage, not into destruction, but into a guiding light. The Uchiha, that fan, has finally found its rightful wielder in Sarada. And with the Uchiha crest on Sarada's back and on her earrings, the clan, it is now being carried on her back, and it's also looking forward in the form of that crest as well as her earrings. It's for these reasons that while Sarada's character arc is not the sexiest, when you really sit down and you look over everything like I've done in this video, and I've actually left out a few things because I didn't want to repeat stuff that I did in another video, as say Sarada Uchia, the burden of love, or Sarada Uchia, the savior of the Uchiha clan. Can't remember what I titled that video, but the point being, I left out some stuff and just focused solely around the Mangekyo Sharingan portion, because understanding this is to understand what is being done with her character, and to understand that is to truly appreciate the subtleties. Her arc is very similar to what we had with Rukia and Bleach. I know that will piss off the Bleach fans, but there are some parallels to it there. The same with Noelle from Black Clover. If you know, you know. And I say that as somebody who has those two characters as two of my favorites in those series. The clan is not just reborn. They have now finally been redeemed. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and checking out more videos from Naruto Explained by clicking here on the left, including that chapter review, or click here up top for this video from my One Piece channel, or click here on the right for this video from my Anime Explained channel.